No one will love you until you understand this. Imagine walking into a room and commanding respect before you even say a word. What if the secret to earning love and admiration has nothing to do with demanding it and everything to do with who you are at your core? There is one powerful truth, a hidden key, that once understood will forever change the way you attract respect and love from others. Respect starts from within. Most of us spend a huge chunk of our lives chasing respect and validation from other people. We want our boss to appreciate our effort, our friends to acknowledge our worth, and our family to see our sacrifices. But here's the irony. How often do we truly respect ourselves first? Think about the last time you compromised your own needs or values just to keep someone else happy. It happens all the time, right? Each time we do that, we're quietly telling ourselves and the world that our needs don't really matter. The Stoics had a powerful insight about this. True respect begins from within. Even Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius observed, "We all love ourselves more than anyone else, but we care more about other people's opinions than our own." Isn't that strange? We constantly place our self-worth in other people's hands instead of honoring our own inner voice. If you want others to respect you, you first have to become someone who deeply respects yourself, your values, your boundaries, your time, and your energy. What does that look like in practice? It means getting crystal clear on what is non-negotiable in your life. Give yourself permission to stop tolerating the things that undermine your self-respect. When you start honoring your own standards, something amazing happens. People around you quickly notice the shift. They sense your self-assurance and naturally follow your lead. Others will respect you more because you clearly respect yourself. This kind of internal confidence is what the Stoics called mastery of the self, aligning your actions with your deepest values until respect from others becomes a natural byproduct. In other words, the world mirrors how you treat yourself. Set clear boundaries. You know that sinking feeling when you agree to something you really don't want to do, just because you didn't want to upset someone or seem selfish? We've all been there, saying yes when our gut was screaming no, only to regret it immediately afterwards. Maybe you accepted extra work when you were already overwhelmed, or agreed to another draining social event because you couldn't face disappointing a friend. Here's the catch. Every time you override your own boundaries, you're quietly teaching people and yourself that your limits don't matter. The Stoics knew that clear, firm boundaries are essential, not only for your own well-being, but also for commanding true respect from others. As the philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Often the discomfort you imagine will come from setting a boundary is far worse than what actually happens. In fact, people usually respond better than we fear. Seneca also advised that we should say what we feel and feel what we say, meaning our words and yes or no answers should harmonize with our true feelings. In simpler terms, honor your needs openly and don't say yes when you really mean no. The moment you begin respecting your own boundaries, something powerful shifts. The people around you naturally start respecting them too. Here's how you can start establishing your boundaries. 1. Identify your non-negotiables. Take a moment to reflect on what you absolutely will not tolerate anymore. Maybe it's being constantly available for work messages late at night, or on Enduring repeated disrespectful comments from a friend. Write down at least 3 personal boundaries that are important to you, such as I won't check work email after 7 p.m., or I will speak up if someone belittles me, even as a joke. 2. Communicate them calmly and clearly. Once you know your boundaries, let others know in a respectful but firm way. You don't need to make a grand announcement. Just state your limits in context. For example, if a coworker repeatedly interrupts your focus, you might say, I understand you want to talk, but I need to finish this task right now. Can we catch up later? Notice you're not angry or defensive. You're simply clear and firm. This signals that you respect yourself enough to uphold your standards. 3. Hold the line. When you honor your own boundaries consistently, people will adjust. The first time you calmly refuse a request or enforce a limit, you may feel nervous. But remember Seneca's wisdom. The fear is mostly in your head. In reality, you'll likely find that others respect you more for standing up for yourself. And if someone pushes back or calls you selfish, stay composed. People often respect clear boundaries, even if they're initially surprised, because boundaries signal integrity and self-awareness. By practicing these steps, you'll quickly notice a shift. Not only will others begin to respect your limits, but you will feel an incredible boost in self-respect and inner peace. Marcus Aurelius summed it up simply, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. In other words, don't betray your values or swallow your voice just to please others. Every time you uphold a boundary that aligns with your true needs, you're demonstrating that you value yourself and teaching the world to value you as well. Speak with clarity and confidence. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, sorry, can I just make a quick point? Or prefacing your idea with, this might be wrong, but it might feel polite or humble in the moment. But each time we cushion or apologize for our own words, we quietly undermine our own authority. When you constantly dilute your statements, inserting just, maybe, or unnecessary apologies, you're signaling to others and reinforcing to yourself that your voice doesn't fully deserve the space it takes up. The Stoics believed deeply in the power of clear and purposeful speech. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to speak plainly and with clarity. He understood that speaking calmly, without excess apologies or fuss, communicates confidence, self-respect, and inner authority. In modern terms, say what you mean, without shrinking or qualifying it to make it comfortable for everyone else. When you speak clearly and deliberately, you're not just delivering words, you're asserting the quiet strength of your own wisdom. You're telling people and yourself that your ideas matter and that your presence deserves respect. Here's something practical you can try starting today. Pay attention to the way you express yourself in your next few conversations. Do you tend to insert little apologies or phrases that diminish your point? Common examples include, I just think we might want to consider, I'm sorry, but I have a question, or maybe it's not important, but challenge yourself to replace these hesitant phrases with simple, direct ones. For instance, instead of sorry, can I just say something? You might say, I have something to add here. Rather than, this might be a silly idea, try I have an idea I'd like to share. The content of what you're saying doesn't change, but the confidence behind it does. Now, this isn't to say you should never apologize or that humility isn't important. It absolutely is. Stoicism teaches humility as a core virtue, but there's a big difference between authentic humility and the habit of unnecessarily putting yourself down. Authentic humility is acknowledging you don't know everything and being open to learning from others. Undermining yourself, on the other hand, is apologizing for your existence or your opinions when you've done nothing wrong. As the Stoic teacher Epictetus reminds us, know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. When you know your own value and trust your ideas, you stop feeling the need to apologize for expressing them. Imagine how different your conversations would feel if every word you spoke came from a calm, confident place. Picture yourself in a meeting at work. Instead of nervously rushing through your update or second-guessing every statement, you speak at a measured pace, in a clear, steady tone. Even if you're not 100% sure of the outcome of your proposal, your colleagues would immediately notice the difference and pay closer attention. And guess what? Even if someone disagrees with you, they'll respect your willingness to speak honestly and confidently. Try it today. Make a deliberate effort to strip out those unnecessary apologies and hedging qualifiers from your speech. Replace hesitation with clarity. You'll notice right away how others respond differently. They'll listen more intently and take your opinions more seriously. Most importantly, you'll feel your own confidence strengthening with every clear sentence you speak. Master the power of silence and eye contact. Have you ever met someone who seems incredibly confident without even saying much? They walk into a room and instantly command attention, not by speaking loudly or cracking jokes, but simply through their calm, composed presence. What's their secret? Often it boils down to mastering the subtle art of silence and eye contact. Silence, as uncomfortable as it can feel at first, is actually one of your greatest allies in commanding genuine respect. In our nervousness, many of us rush to fill every pause in conversation because quiet moments can feel awkward. But here's the thing. Strategic silence exudes confidence. The Stoics deeply valued silence as a form of strength and clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often of the power of holding one's tongue. He noted, "You are not compelled to form an opinion about this matter. You can remain silent." In other words, you don't owe anyone an instant reaction or comment. Silence gives you space to think, to reflect, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It's not weakness or indecision. It's a powerful statement of self-control and inner strength. Now pair that silence with steady eye contact. Have you noticed how much authority someone commands when they calmly meet your gaze? Making comfortable eye contact signals confidence, sincerity, and presence. On the flip side, when we avoid eye contact or constantly glance away, we subconsciously signal insecurity or uncertainty. Maintaining a steady, friendly gaze, even during a brief pause in conversation, projects an unshakable confidence. It wordlessly tells the other person, "I'm here with you, I'm at ease, and I stand by what I'm saying." Here's something you can apply immediately. The next time you're in a conversation, whether it's at work, chatting with friends, or even on a date, try making a deliberate choice to pause for a moment before responding. Instead of rushing to fill the space, allow a brief silence. As you pause, calmly maintain eye contact with the person you're talking to. Notice how the other person's attention sharpens. That small moment of silence paired with your composed gaze suddenly elevates your presence. It makes your next words carry more weight. Remember the old saying, we have two ears and one mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus echoed this truth, and he understood that silence and listening are deeply intertwined with respect. When you become comfortable with silence, you're actually demonstrating strength. You're showing others and yourself that you're fully secure with your own thoughts. You don't need to constantly prove your worth by filling the space with noise. Now let's be real. At first, practicing silence might feel unnatural. Your instincts might scream at you to say something to ease the awkward pause. But trust this, the more you practice calmly holding that silence while maintaining relaxed eye contact, the easier it gets. Start small. Maybe in your next meeting, consciously pause for a couple of seconds after someone finishes speaking before you respond. You'll quickly discover that this deliberate calm makes you feel more in control, and it has an incredibly powerful effect on those around you. It draws people in. They lean forward, waiting to hear what insightful thing you'll say, because your demeanor has already conveyed that you have the confidence to take your time. In mastering silence, you'll find that you can command respect without ever raising your voice. Your body speaks volumes. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to command respect before they have even opened their mouth? It's like there's something in the way they walk into a room, the way they hold themselves, that quietly but powerfully communicates confidence. This is the silent language of body language, and it often speaks louder than anything you could possibly say. The way you carry yourself is constantly broadcasting messages about your self-worth and how much respect you think you deserve. The Stoics understood that how we hold ourselves physically reflects how we hold ourselves mentally. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, stand upright, not be made upright. In modern terms, stand straight, not stiff. He meant that your physical posture should reflect an inner dignity and strength, rather than being a forced or fake pose. You don't have to puff out your chest or loom over people to show confidence. In fact, you shouldn't have to force it at all. Your posture will naturally express quiet confidence when you cultivate that confidence inside. To see why posture matters, imagine two scenarios. In the first, you walk into a meeting with your shoulders slouched, eyes glued to the floor. Maybe you're nervously fidgeting with your hands, or have your arms tightly crossed over your chest. Without a single word being spoken, you've already signaled to everyone in the room that you're uncomfortable or unsure of yourself. Now picture a second scenario. You walk into the same meeting with your back comfortably straight and your shoulders rolled back in a relaxed open stance. Your head is up and you make easy, natural eye contact with the people in the room. Even before you speak, you've communicated confidence and competence simply by the way you carry yourself. The contrast is powerful. Practically speaking, here's something you can do immediately. The very next time you enter any room or situation where you want to project confidence, a work meeting, a social gathering, even walking into a cafe, pause and check your posture. Take a deep, calming breath as you enter. Gently roll your shoulders back and down, lifting your chest slightly. Not in an exaggerated way, just enough to open up. Lift your chin and meet the world head on. Keep your head upright and your eyes forward. This naturally engages eye contact with those around you, and signals that you're present and unafraid. Adopt a relaxed but assured stance. Let your arms hang comfortably at your sides or use them naturally when you speak. Avoid crossing your arms tightly or shrinking into yourself. Plant your feet firmly on the ground if standing, about shoulder width apart, or sit in a way that feels balanced and open. These small adjustments can make a dramatic difference. It doesn't have to feel stiff or unnatural. In fact, it shouldn't. The goal isn't to strike a pose, it's to allow your body to reflect the self-assured, grounded person you truly are. As you practice being mindful of your posture and gestures, you'll likely find an interesting feedback loop. Adopting a confident pose can actually make you feel more confident. And when you feel more confident, your body naturally adopts a more confident posture. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should embody our philosophy. If your philosophy, your inner belief, is that you respect yourself and deserve respect from others, then let your body language communicate exactly that. This isn't about arrogance or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and confident in your worth. That kind of quiet, authentic self-assurance naturally commands respect. The beauty of it is, you don't need to radically change who you are or play a role. You're simply letting your physical presence reflect the inner strength you already possess. Try a little experiment today. Whenever you catch yourself slouching or making yourself smaller, gently correct your posture, stand or sit up just a bit taller, in a way that still feels relaxed in you. If you notice your arms are tightly crossed or your body is tense, shake it out and reposition in a more open stance. You might be surprised at how quickly you notice a difference, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself. Your body language truly is the silent ambassador of your inner confidence. Master it, and you'll effortlessly communicate strength, authority, and respect before you even say a word. Grace under pressure, handling disagreements. Calmly those moments when you're having a calm discussion and suddenly you find yourself in the middle of a disagreement. Before you even realize it, emotions start to flare. Maybe your voice gets louder, your words sharpen, or you feel an almost irresistible urge to defend your position aggressively. We've all been there, and afterward you might wonder why it had to escalate like that in the first place. The good news is, disagreements don't have to turn into conflicts, and conflicts don't have to undermine respect. It's entirely possible to handle differences of opinion calmly, gracefully, and with genuine strength. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that other people's opinions or disagreements didn't have to disturb his inner peace. He famously wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." In other words, just because someone challenges you or sees things differently, it doesn't mean your authority or self-worth is under attack. Your confidence isn't diminished just because someone else disagrees with you. In fact, how you handle disagreements is one of the truest reflections of your inner strength and maturity. Think about it practically. Let's say you're in a meeting at work and someone openly challenges your idea. Your instinct might be to tense up, get defensive, or jump in to prove them wrong as quickly as possible. But imagine instead taking a slow, deep breath. You listen attentively and genuinely consider their viewpoint before you respond. Then you say something like, "That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of it that way. Here's why I approached it differently." Delivering your thoughts in a calm, steady voice. Notice the power in that kind of response. You're not rolling over or surrendering your position. You're simply showing respect for their view while confidently communicating your own. Epictetus once taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Applied to our scenario, the disagreement itself isn't inherently a bad thing or a threat. It's your reaction that will determine the outcome. A disagreement can actually become an opportunity, a chance to demonstrate calm confidence and thoughtful leadership. Imagine a colleague or friend observing you in that moment. They see you handling a challenge with patience, openness, and composure. They're likely to immediately respect you more. Why? Because they see someone who is emotionally mature and self-assured enough to remain composed under pressure. That earns far more admiration than any aggressive rebuttal ever could. Next time you sense a disagreement brewing, whether it's with a coworker, a friend, or a family member, try this approach. 1. Pause and breathe. The moment you notice yourself starting to get agitated or defensive, take a single deep breath. This small pause can prevent an emotional reaction from hijacking your response. 2. Remind yourself of the bigger picture. Their differing opinion doesn't threaten your value. A disagreement is not a verdict on your competence or character. It's just a difference in perspective. Literally tell yourself, "This is not a threat. I don't need to win to be respected." This mindset shift alone can defuse a lot of internal tension. 3. Listen and acknowledge. Truly listen to what the other person is saying. Let them finish without interruption. Then acknowledge their point of view. It can be as simple as, "I see what you mean," or "You have a point there." Acknowledgement doesn't mean you agree. It means you respect their right to have a perspective. 1. Respond with clarity and calmness. Now share your perspective or clarify your stance, speaking as calmly and clearly as you can. You might say, for example, "Here's how I look at it," or "I hear you. I think about it a bit differently." By keeping your tone measured, you communicate that you're not rattled or desperate to dominate. You're simply contributing to a dialogue. You'll notice how quickly potential conflicts can diffuse into thoughtful conversations with this approach. Often the other person will mirror your calm tone. Even if they don't agree with you in the end, they'll more likely respect the way you handled the exchange. Initially, responding to disagreements with such patience might take conscious effort. You might even feel a bit vulnerable or uncomfortable, especially if you're used to reacting defensively. But remember, vulnerability in this context isn't weakness. It's a form of strength. It takes courage to remain calm and fair-minded when you feel attacked. Stoicism teaches that self-control and emotional discipline are among the highest forms of strength. When you handle disagreements gracefully, you're embodying a quiet power that commands far more respect than raising your voice or aggressively defending your position ever could. So next time conflict knocks at your door, embrace it as an opportunity to practice calmness, clarity, and self-respect. You'll find you not only feel stronger internally, but you also naturally inspire respect and admiration from those around you. The strength of vulnerability. Now here's a surprising paradox. The moments when you feel weakest, like admitting a mistake, sharing a fear, or confessing that you're uncertain are often the moments when others see your greatest strength. It sounds counterintuitive because most of us grow up believing that vulnerability equals weakness. We're taught to hide our struggles, cover up our mistakes, and never show any cracks in our armor. But here's the fascinating truth. Vulnerability, when expressed authentically, is actually one of your most powerful assets in earning genuine respect. The Stoics understood the strength in honest vulnerability. Even Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, openly acknowledged his own shortcomings and doubts in his private writings, which we know as meditations. He didn't hide from his imperfections. He embraced them as part of being human. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "Don't be ashamed to need help. Like a soldier storming a wall, you have a mission to accomplish." Even this great leader reminded himself that needing support is nothing to be embarrassed about. What he meant was that recognizing your limitations and accepting help when needed is not weakness at all. It's courage. It takes tremendous inner strength to admit vulnerability, far more than it takes to pretend you have all the answers. Think about your own life for a second. Imagine a situation at work or among friends where you made a mistake. Your initial instinct might be to hide it, justify it, or even subtly blame someone else to protect yourself. But what happens if instead you calmly and honestly say, "You know what? That was my mistake. I misunderstood, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." What happens then is pretty amazing. You gain respect. People naturally admire those who are secure enough to own up to their errors. They see someone who's confident enough to be human, someone who doesn't hide behind false bravado or defensiveness. Epictetus explained that true strength lies in accepting the reality of who you are, imperfections and all. He taught that vulnerability isn't a threat to your self-worth. It actually enhances your authenticity and integrity. When you're openly vulnerable, you're signaling clearly to others and to yourself that you value honesty above protecting your ego. You're showing that you're secure enough in yourself to acknowledge flaws, uncertainty, or fear without losing your sense of inner strength. That is incredibly powerful. Think about the people you respect the most. Are they the ones who act infallible, or the ones who have the quiet confidence to admit when they're wrong or need help? Practically speaking, here's a simple but powerful exercise you can try. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel uncertain, nervous, or you've clearly made an error, instead of masking it, openly acknowledge it, calmly and confidently. For example, you might say, "I'm honestly not sure of the best solution here. What do you think? I have to admit I'm feeling a bit nervous about this presentation, but I'm going to do my best." Or if you made a mistake, "That was my mistake. I apologize for the confusion, and I'll fix it." Notice how instantly relatable and disarming this simple act is. Far from making people think less of you, it tends to do the opposite. It humanizes you and often elevates others' respect for you. Why? Because you've shown real courage, the courage to be real. Initially, embracing vulnerability like this might feel uncomfortable. You might worry about appearing weak or losing credibility. But here's the powerful paradox. Authentic vulnerability boosts respect, trust, and connection. People naturally admire authenticity. They see strength in your courage to be genuine and transparent. You become someone they feel safe around, someone they can trust, because you aren't hiding behind a facade. In the end, remember this: respect isn't something you demand, it's something you become. When you understand that love and respect from others flow directly from the love and respect you give yourself, everything changes. You start focusing on cultivating that inner strength and authenticity rather than chasing approval. And as you do so, an incredible thing happens. The respect, admiration, and even love you've been seeking begin to find you naturally. You've unlocked the secret. No one will truly love you until you learn to truly love yourself and live in a way that honors who you are. When you embody that principle, confidence and respect stop being something you chase and become something you are. And that makes all the difference.